welcome to the Vegan Stew. We're really glad you're here. We're back for February. We had our break last week, and we're ready to go with our topic, which is vegan and cruelty-free. Is there a difference? Do you think there's a difference? What do we think about it? We're going to discuss that, of course, some current events and whatever else we throw your way, whatever else the topics we end up talking about, because you just never know what we'll talk about and what tangent we'll go on. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, put them in a little box, and we love to address them and have you be part of the show. And please go to YouTube and subscribe and hit the notification bell for Virtual Veg Fest. Oops, other way. Virtual Veg Fest and the Vegan Stew. We greatly appreciate it. Help us grow our reach for our show. If you like prizes, you can go to virtualvegfestlive.com and hit the contest tab, and you can win prize packs from 11 prizes in the month of February. What a lovely thing for the Valentine's month. It's also Black History Month. Let's not forget that. And prizes are from Terra Seed, Hodo Foods, Veg Key, Cinnaholic, Fabulous, Bernie Wild's Adventure Sauce, Kathy Hester, Trupo Treats, BV Kids, Total Body Lab, and our newest sponsor who's sponsoring our lives this month, Dojo Fresh. They make the seitan easy for you to make it at home. It's in a bag, add some water, mix it up, put it into a pan, saute it. You've got seitan without having to wait the hours and the boiling or whatever, however, steaming, however you make it. They put it in a package, do it for you. Love them, local to the Triangle in North Carolina. That's that. Public service announcement. Get your colonoscopies. I don't care what age you are. If you need one, get one. Why? Because Steven's having surgery tomorrow because of a colonoscopy that he had, and it's pretty major. So any well wishes, healing energy, whatever you have, send it our way for tomorrow morning. We have to be at the hospital at 5:15 in the morning. Let me bring in the Stew crew. We've got Sovereign. We've got Marla Rose. We've got Kelly. And we've got Dr. Shayla. Okay. So that's my public service announcement, which I'm pretty sure Dr. Shayla will back me up on.
Definitely. And in addition to your PSA for colon cancer screening, another PSA for Heart Health Month. So yeah, keep your heart healthy, eat more plants. If you're watching, you're in the right place to learn all the reasons why you should eat more plants.
Perfect. Yeah. That's great. And of course, our news story this week is about mushrooms, my favorite. Marla Rose.
Yeah, are neither plant nor animal. So that's a little, I don't quite know what category they're in. So there is mushroom fever currently happening. A lot of people are loving the health providing qualities of mushrooms and how delicious they are. They're umami packed. There is a new grower opening in a suburb of Denver called Meati, MEATI, which is that just got approved to grow vertically. So that's awesome because it's not taking up a ton of land. 45 million pounds of mushroom-based meats, quote unquote, a year. So that's pretty exciting and cool, and it's going to be fabulous. And they're going to be making like steaks and bacon and all of that stuff. Yeah, I don't know, Ray. I have no idea.
Well, Ray's always fun to have part of
it. Well, if anyone's watching Last of Us, you know they can't be trusted.
Mushroom people, but anyway, that's exciting to see. It's a huge plant that's going to be able to really amp up production. So, and I love that it's vertical. That's so important, you know. So anyway, it's kind of cool. We think that's cool.
That's very cool. Mushrooms are so versatile too, you know, for a food item. So that is.
Yeah. Do you guys like mushrooms or not? People are so.
I love them.
Yeah. How about you, Dr. Shayla?
Yeah, I love mushrooms. They're, you know, you can do a lot with them. You can, you know, saute them. You can put them in almost every dish, really. You know, mushrooms. Right. You can do so much with mushrooms. Right.
They're fantastic. You can do scallops with them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The scallop
or you can use
mushroom.
and tear them, the ones that have like the meatier texture, to tear them apart
Mhm.
to make chicken, or I do like
Oh,
nuggets.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they became like really interesting to use. Sprouts and the farmers market are the only place I've been able to find those particular ones. But I was able to make
With the lion
drumsticks.
pudding? The
Yeah.
At one of the
lion.
veg fests, they had where they made like fish from the
Mhm.
mushrooms. I forget
Yes.
the
Mhm.
restaurant though that it was.
Yeah. The beneficial
One of the
aliens.
things
Yes,
I
that's
do
really cool.
is because sometimes we're all like in certain kinds of mushrooms, I think shiitake is like that. The stems are tougher, or portobellos or something like that. Is so rather than throw them away, which we don't want to do, is I keep them in a bag in a freezer, and then when I have enough, I make a mushroom stock out of them. So
Yeah, same.
yeah. Oh, goody. Yeah. And you know what's so funny? Sovereign probably can relate to this. I love lion's mane. And then there's a hen of the woods. Have you guys had that? That's just like
Mhm.
chickeny.
Mhm.
Good. Um, the Sovereign can probably relate to this. In the 90s, everything vegan was a portobello mushroom. And
Yes.
if a restaurant had stuff, it was either hummus or portobello mushrooms. And I think I totally burnt out on them. I can only start looking at them again now as a possibility of something to eat, because that was all that we had.
Yeah, that was pretty much it because I was in high school. So
Mhm.
it was tofu and mushrooms, and portobellos were the ones. But every restaurant was just that's it. Their versions were anything was just portobello. But
Every
I like the fact that it's being explored more in terms of more variety and watching people even foraging for mushrooms, because there's so much that you can do with them. And I have a what do you call it? A KitchenAid thing. It's not a pasta, but it
spiralizer?
thins out vegetables. Yeah. Well, it thins them out like
Yeah.
thin, like lasagna sheets.
Oh,
And yeah, and I was able to, just out of curiosity, like I was like, let's see if I can thin it out. So I was like, had to strategically do it so I didn't ruin it. But so it sliced it so thin that I was able to do like a bacon, and then do use that for like layering for like a lasagna for the kids. It's just so much that you can do. And Trump mushrooms are so earthy; they're really good for a broth or like a stock.
yeah.
And the color is really great because it's done. That's the first thing my mind goes to. This is great. But it's really earthy and really good. And they're really versatile and just huge sources of protein. And
Yeah,
um,
they said that the new product from this company is going to basically match, except for the cholesterol, the nutrition profile of meat. In terms of even like, I don't think of mushrooms as a high protein food, but apparently these products are made with 95% mushrooms. So the people who freak out about soy or wheat gluten or whatever, they can eat these. Oh, they'll freak out about mushrooms too. But but anyways, it's a high protein product apparently. So and it's made with the root, 95% of it, I guess. So that's kind of cool.
I'm completely outnumbered because I hate them. I hate
Yeah.
mushrooms.
Oh,
However, I don't know something. I hate them. I've despised them since I was a little kid. However, I have had chicken in the woods. A local restaurant, Caroline, who's the owner of the Fishing Kitchen, brought me out a cup of soup, and it was like a Mexican like style soup with the chicken of the woods in it. And she said, "You need to try this. If you don't like it, you don't have to pay for it." And I was like, "Okay." And so it's mental too.
Yeah.
But it was delicious. But then I went to another restaurant. I tried their chicken in the woods, and they were absolutely disgusting. So I throw it out to the Fishing Kitchen, and Caroline, she knows
Let's
what
put
she's
them on blast.
doing.
Let's say
And in that soup, it was just like shredded chicken in the soup with the flavor of the soup. So I don't like the earthy thing. I don't like things that taste like ground or beets or like any of those things. I don't like them. I go more the
Yeah.
fruity,
But
direction.
Sovereign making bacon out of the mushrooms, that's pretty genius. And it sounds delicious. One of my kiddos actually likes, there's a mushroom based like jerky, but it's mushrooms, and they actually love that as a snack. And so that's a great idea too,
Yes.
though, to put it in like a lasagna or bacon. Yeah.
Yes. Like my little ones are the same way. Everybody wants to laugh in my house. They're like, they're bougie. I'm like, no, they're just they're just healthy. I'm like, little ones, this
Exactly.
generation of pandemic babies are a whole other level, and it's good to start them when they're when they're younger. There was a TikTok trend that happened that, or I don't know if it's a trend or something, but that's what piqued my curiosity to use that attachment. But it was so taking potatoes and making them that thin, and then pressing them, and then you layer them, and then you freeze it, but then you cut it, and then you fry it. Like it's layered, like it's like, oh yeah, and it's like, so I did that with my children were like, more. I'm like, look, I've used almost a bag of potatoes. You tried, need any more? You guys eat like linebackers. But it's just introducing and sneaking in a few things for them to really like. If they like, kombucha, they love like avocados, they love just things that some people would think that kids wouldn't like. It's like, I don't think it's that kids don't like it, it's just how you introduce it from the jump.
It's also, their parents not liking it.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was about to say.
I remember going to a food court with my son when he was like 3, and he wanted vegan maki rolls, and like the people around us were absolutely freaking out, like, what the heck? Like rice is vegetables, yeah. So the other thing I was going to say is, like, the next step is to start foraging, right, for mushrooms. Then they won't call you bougie anymore. We noticed that near my son's school when he was in high school, there's a river, and there's a big tree that went over the river, and I saw some hens of the woods up in there. It was either that or lion's mane. I think it was hens of the wood, and I made him climb the tree with a knife and cut them down. I mean, I made sure, first of all, that they were indeed correctly hen of the woods. But it was just a weird image of the vegan mom making her son climb a tree with a knife.
What vegan level is that? Is that vegan level like 1 million?
It's like next. Yeah, it's not even, it's a stratospheric thing.
So, hi, Yanni. I think and also one thing, I understand I eat mushrooms. However, they are incredibly healthy for you. And there are supplements that have mushroom in them. There's mushroom powder. Take it. It is absolutely amazing for your health. And because I don't have to eat them in order to get the benefits, because like Encapsulate, which is one of our vendors, they created a capsule that's filled with all the different benefits of all the different mushrooms, and they're sciencey people, so they'll explain the whole thing to you. But go to their website and check it out. It's probably encapsulate.com. So that's, I guess we've really talked about mushrooms, but
I think we have breaded it, we have air fried it, we have.
I put it in my hot chocolate.
And then we've got Ray, of course, which
Yes.
the lobster was actually a
Hot chocolate.
mold. It takes over a while.
I'm not the only one that does that.
I really like a lobster, so
Yay,
thanks, Ray. I think you might be on Google. So our topic this week is an interesting topic because it's vegan and cruelty-free. Are they the same? Are they different? Can something be cruelty-free and not vegan? I say yes. And can something be vegan and not cruelty-free? I don't think that's the case. If it's vegan, it's cruelty-free because that's inherent in being something being vegan. That is that it's not tested on animals. But something could be not tested on animals and have milk in it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
So I think there's confusion because it's like that confusion of, oh, it's vegan. Oh, it's gluten-free. No, that doesn't mean vegan. I mean, it's gluten-free. It doesn't mean that it's vegan because restaurants tend to put those two together. And then with cruelty-free, does it help? to go backwards to when I was 19, when I went vegetarian, I went cruelty free as a vegetarian. I started to not use products that were tested on animals because even back then, I kind of understood the animal testing piece. Even though I think vegan was like nowhere, I don't eat vegetables. So the idea of going vegan at 19, the fact that I went vegetarian was too much for my family, and I didn't eat vegetables. So I had to learn to like everything. But I understood what was happening to the animals. Very early on, I met a guy who was vegan at 18, 19 years old. He was going to Manhattan to do animal rights marches, which was like back then. That's a long time ago, just so everybody knows. So I got that piece, but obviously I didn't extend it out. And I didn't, vegan was just,
You didn't know.
well, he was, but I always thought he was out of his mind. So, but he got me to go vegetarian. So that was that step. But the cruelty-free piece, why? Why was the cruelty-free piece important to me? I didn't want things tested on animals. I didn't want the animals to be abused. I didn't want makeup, but as an example, like the mascara to go into the eyes of the rabbits to say like why we shouldn't put mascara in our eyes. Because either you're a stupid person and you put mascara in your eyes, or you don't need to test that on a rabbit to know that you shouldn't do that. But we have a population that does stupid things because that's the only reason why you test something like that on an animal, because humans shouldn't be doing that. I get that it's close to the eye, but don't do that.
I think some of it's just antiquated government, rules about, this needs to be. But to your question, so there is a very specific cruelty-free simply means it's not tested on animals and not made from ingredients tested on animals. It does not mean that it doesn't contain animal products. So you could have something that has beeswax or whatever in it. And this is more in the cosmetics, personal care realm, that is not vegan, but is quote unquote cruelty-free by the definition of what cruelty-free means, which is an actual term, but in a different sense, and I don't want to be one of those splitting hairs people, but the concept of cruelty-free, like by being vegan by definition, it means that you're cruelty-free. Well, the fact is that there are a lot of industries that are inherently very cruel, like the chocolate industry, especially chocolate sourced from parts of Africa where child slavery is very much endemic into the industry. So we definitely have to look at how or like, for example, like, palm oil being in products that is not humane. So we definitely have to look at like the fact that just because you're vegan doesn't necessarily mean every product gets a clean bill of health in terms of cruelty free. I'd love to hear what you guys think about that.
So when I first went, I started vegetarian first because I was 16. I had a few like little pieces, like I would thrift, or like not buy like leather goods, things like that. And when since I didn't have a lot in the first place, I guess it hit when she introduced me to it and I did more research on my own. Then I was like, okay, no. And then it was easy for me to just stop, like the transition from stopping completely to wearing anything. I haven't owned anything since, so I would say since I was 17, that is any fur. I never wore fur in the first place. So no leather, nothing like that. With furniture, with products that we use, with clothing. Okay, thank you. Nothing like that. Thank you. One second. Hold on 1 second.
Sovereign muted.
Sorry. Um, yeah, the cruelty-free aspect, it applies, there is a lot of confusion with some who don't kind of know. Like Susan did say, like Burt's Bees. And here's the other thing, they're not vegan, and they started out that's where like companies will see it as a trend, or like, hey, this is getting big. Now's our chance to kind of get in there. And then they'll go with the whole, and I have to say facade, or the visual aspect or representation of it being cruelty free and being vegan. And sometimes people don't know the difference. So they immediately think, oh, cruelty free means vegan, or vegan means cruelty free. No, that is not the case. If if you're finding anything like beeswax is produced from an animal, from bees. That is not, you really don't know if it's cruelty free. And the way to know whether or not it is look at who the parent company is.
Mm-hmm.
All of these companies, it will be The Natural and Aveeno and Burt's Bees, their parent companies are ones like, like Estee Lauder.
Estee Lauder is a big one.
Yeah.
Johnson and Johnson,
Yeah.
I think is actually Burt's Bees.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you really have to look and see, because at that point you're like, okay, you're just doing it for the money aspect. And even if you are trying to go a better route, you still have your main income coming in from the abuse and cruelty of animals, either for fashion or for makeup or for cleaning products, or so it's like, what are you really doing? It's like when what's her face, Kat Von D or Jeffree Star, who they will make vegan products, but they will wear fur. They will be shown wearing certain things, or their ethics behind it. Like, you just discover so many things. So if anybody comes across any product that says cruelty free, it's better to kind of even stand there, maybe even take your phone, because I do that, and say, I want to look up and see more. If it's vegan, still look it up anyway, because what is the brand? Corn. I thought it was vegan. It was saying this, and then turned and it had egg and dairy, and I was just like, so
It's gross.
it's better to be that. Yeah, it's better to be the person that's going to stand there and take some extra time to really look and see. It doesn't mean that you're trying to outshine or outdo or be better. You are trying to be better by where you place your money, to make sure that no other animal is going to get, harmed, because there's no need, and if push comes to shove, you can make your own everything now. So, it's
Hi, Sheila.
Yeah,
She's
Sovereign,
helping.
that's a really good point. I'm always on the phone at the store. I don't believe that you can be vegan and not read, because there's simple things like peanuts that could have gelatin. When you buy the package of peanuts, it has gelatin. I don't understand it, why they're not the same as the other smaller jars of peanuts. But Planters peanuts,
Or even
and
some soups. I've seen some soups labeled as vegetable soup, but then you turn it over and it's got beef broth in it.
Right. It's
Yeah.
really gross stuff. And then one thing that you said, Sovereign, because I actually wrote a note. What you're saying in regards to the cruelty-free and the parent companies being these major companies, and the money going and filtering towards, obviously, whatever it's filtering towards, the products that are not vegan. But we do preach to buy food from companies that are not vegan, so that we can spread the word of veganism to the world and make it easier, more accessible and attainable. So I don't feel like we can use the same argument on products if we're telling people with food that we should that Smithfield has vegan meat. Then we wouldn't be buying the Smithfield vegan meat, because, man, if there's anyone that kills a lot of pigs, it's Smithfield.
Yeah.
They jumped into the vegan meat business. It's not that good. It's okay. If it was great, maybe I'd buy it. It's just okay. But it's there. And it's weird. It's a weird thing to purchase. But
I've never even heard of that. So that's news to me. I've never heard of that.
Yes, it's called Pure Naturals. It's called some pure something, I think is what it's called. And in Sprouts, it was actually in the meat section. That's why I never saw it until I was on the checkout line and this person had it. And of course, you're checking out what people are buying. And I was like, oh, what's that? Because it looked like meat. And I was like, wait, that's vegan? Where did you find that? And they were like, that corner back there, which is where the meat is. So I moseyed over. And then I was like, wait a second, this is Smithfield. They kill lots of pigs in North Carolina, more pigs than humans in North Carolina. It's a big deal. But I did buy it because I do believe that we should be spending our money that way.
I think it's just a very imperfect world, and I understand the like, why are we like Aveda? If they could only spin off and be independent, they're promoting veganism in their products and their newsletters on their everything right now. And their parent company, I believe, is Estee Lauder. So Estee Lauder, because they sell in China, has to agree that if the government in China wants to test on animals, they have to agree to that. So that's the main thing to my understanding. I wish that Aveda were independent again. They started out that way, but now I wouldn't feel, I don't know. It's a very tricky thing. It's very hard and imperfect, imprecise and imperfect. Yeah, but I do want to say one thing. If a personal care product or house good or home good, whatever, is labeled vegan, then it is also cruelty free, generally. Because you can't. So if it gets the certified vegan label, anyway.
That's the thing. It has to have the label.
This is a great comment, Sabra, before you start.
About the Oreos.
I also don't understand Oreos are vegan. I get nervous about where the sugar is coming from, so I never get that stuff. And Oreos are like that food that helps people transition over to veganism because they could still eat Oreos. And I believe that this research has been done enough, because if you do any search of Oreos are vegan, they say that they're vegan, which would imply to me that the sugar is vegan. But I also learned recently from Leah, who was part of Revolution Gelato, who's a vegan ice cream company, that when she was searching where to get sugar, she found that most of the sugar now is vegan. And from like pretty much everywhere you buy it. And that made me feel more comfortable with what's going on, like when you're eating something out. Because I was very big on, is your sugar vegan? I'm still with the vendors. You can't use white sugar because it's not vegan. So we got lots of comments. This is awesome.
Yeah. But the other thing to the Oreos being vegan thing, one, I think all the labels confuse a lot of people, what's vegan, what's vegetarian, what's this or that or the other. I've met people who call themselves vegan and they aren't really vegan. They just didn't really know what vegan was. And so it's the labels really that confuse people. And then, people they pick up on things like Oreos. And so the other thing that I try to explain to people too is that vegan doesn't automatically mean healthy either. Because that's a common misconception too. People say, oh, well, it's vegan, but yeah, we all know Oreos aren't healthy. To make a whole
especially if you deep fry them. You butter them, you deep fry them, and then you put ice cream on them. It's vegan, but it's not healthy.
I'm shocked. I am shocked at this news, at this revelation. I can't even.
I think that the issues with Oreos is there are some vegan blogs that do for people who are trying to transition. If Oreos are vegan, they will put and say yes that they are. However, Oreos do have the high fructose corn syrup. So for me and the kids, and knowing how that affects, especially with certain things like ADHD and hyperactivity, that's a no. It is really easy now to find brands that are actually. I think it's Plant by Nature. Is a company where they do make
Paul Newman's stuff vegan.
Yes, Paul Newman's. Some of them.
sandwich cookies, some of them.
Yes.
Yeah, Back by
Planted by
Nature.
yeah, there we go. There, Back by Nature. Um, theirs is vegan. And I like the fact that they're good size. If you are still have questions, you can definitely try small businesses and support them because you'll know exactly what you're getting to. It also reduces the risk of possible cross contamination. Then there are again like really simple ways to. It's not too hard to make Oreos nowadays. And it's that there are those alternatives. And Dr. Toombs, just like you did state, there's such a confusion around now with like plant-based and vegan. And now people are getting better, especially some grocery stores where they will have it where it's like, here's your plant-based options. Meaning that there might be dairy, but there's not any meat. And here are the vegan options. So
There might be
even for a
eggs,
lot
too.
of and a lot of like recipe creators like myself, I will do, mostly everything that I have is vegan. But sometimes I don't want to say scare people away or make them feel inclusive. Would say I make plant-based things. They are all vegan because that's all that I eat. But it does, they can make any alterations that they wish to do. I'm not gonna, come through the window like, Nosferatu and kiss at them. So just, use it as a foundation to make what
Smack
you
the
want to make.
Oreo
But
out of their hand.
know that there are like other options that you do have. It's way more open now since the 90s and even, earlier on to be, to head towards the plant-based and eventually the vegan route, because it kind of does lead to that. You start out that way and then you do find yourself going further and embracing that. So
I make I make Oreos out of mushrooms. Just kidding. I don't. We're just talking so much.
Just for Helene.
Disgusting. I wouldn't eat them.
Yeah.
I don't care.
It's kind of funny. Do you know the Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins? He owns a vegan coffee shop in the Chicago suburbs. It's really cool. It's really amazing. And anyway, but everything there is labeled plant-based, which is fine. That's a definite decision that they made. But I'm paranoid about it because there are companies and brands that call things plant-based, meaning it's primarily made of plants. It's plant-based. Doesn't mean. So I felt like I needed to clarify, and they were shocked that anyone would not realize that plant-based equals vegan. But I'm like, there's a lot of companies that are taking advantage of the vagueness of that, so
Yeah, it's like that
you see a lot of
pizza.
even frozen stuff now. Yeah, they'll label
Right.
it plant-based, but it'll have regular cheese or, and the
Yep.
plant-based part is just like the
But then
vegan
it's got
sausage,
Beyond Meat as
Right,
a
yeah.
topping, and then it's got dairy cheese, and just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And that's what we have to read. I'm just going to say I'm not trusting it if it says plant-based.
Yeah,
No, we
no,
don't. We
I'm
clearly
gonna ask
don't either. It's really frustrating because it looks really good, and you're like, oh, they got Beyond Meat on the pizza, and no, I'll just make my own.
Yeah. I do have them,
That's
for
the
example,
safest, best way is to make your own.
Bonza. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Bonza.
What's it called?
Bonza's awesome. Bonza.
Bonza,
They're like,
Bonza, yeah.
Oh,
I
is
like
it like
their
a
crust.
Yes.
pastas and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Really good.
amazing, especially for like, a lot of stuff that are made of peas and lentils, it turns into soup. And you're like, I didn't ask for porridge. But this is really good. And for especially when you have young kids, this is everything because it has really good amount of protein in it.
Yes.
But their pizza shells are fantastic. But they have to change the front where they do have ones that have cheese, like they're pre-made ones. So people at first glance may be like, oh, look, it's no. Even with their macaroni and cheese, they have a different color box for their vegan macaroni. But the other one, if you don't really look, you're just going to think because it is. And then when I did the at one of the boxes, it's like in small little asterisk, this is dairy. I'm like, what the hell? You know, I don't have binoculars, or I'm not pulling out, you know, my
Yeah.
dictionary.
Yeah, I found that odd too. We eat a lot of bonza in my house too, Sovereign. So yeah, my
I
kids
love
love
it.
the noodles as well as the pizza crust. But yeah, I found that too. I was actually, when I first started buying the pizza, I was like, oh, you know, I don't even have to make it. They have the whole pizza made. And then I was like, oh no, you know, it's got the
Yeah.
regular cheese. Yeah.
Smaller companies, I think sometimes we can associate them as a vegan. Like we have restaurants in Chicago that aren't even vegetarian, but people call them vegan because like in the 1970s, they were like the first, you know, one of the first places that had vegan options. But you know what's interesting? Like maybe 15 years ago or so, I was at the Natural Products Expo in California, and I was at the Follow Your Heart booth, which is, you know, they make dressings, and primarily I think dressings these days, but like Vegenaise, which that's how it's pronounced, not Veganase, Vegenaise. But anyway, they have products that I just associated it in my mind with everything here is vegan, and they had to tell me that no, this one actually has dairy, but they have eventually grandfathered those products out and only do vegan now. But sometimes we do associate things in our minds as, like, I just wrote a piece for eater.com, the Chicago Eater um, branch of it. And it was about like, I don't know, like 20 essential vegan restaurants in Chicago. And there were all these people coming at me about not including the Chicago Diner. And I'm like, I love the Chicago Diner, but they're vegetarian. It's fine. I mean, I'm not, I don't necessarily think, but I'm not going to include them in a vegan piece. But like, I think that sometimes the associations are so deep, you know, like, oh, that's got to be vegan. Right.
It's nice when places like that go all vegan. The Fiction Kitchen, which I mentioned earlier, was a vegetarian vegan restaurant. It was like vegan, but you could like have dairy, cheese, or like an egg type of vegan vegetarian restaurant. But over COVID, they went all vegan.
Oh, that's awesome. There
Which is
were places like that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
really cool.
I'm friends with the people who own the diner, and I've talked to them about it. And, you know, apparently only like 30% of their orders are vegan, which is, you know,
That's
it's,
high.
yeah, right. And all of their menu by default is vegan. You have to specifically say,
Exactly.
yeah.
That's what the Fiction Kitchen was.
Mhm.
And they still got crap from the community. They wanted to protest. Community wanted to protest.
Well, and
you
that's
know?
where we get into the, like, sometimes the closer you are to being vegan and not vegan, the more irritated vegans get. You know, like Smithfield's given like all the promotion in the world, but you know, I get it.
Okay, again. Okay, alrighty. Thank you for the announcement. Sorry, guys. Um, I think again, there's so many other things happening in the world. Like, continent of Africa is splitting into two. We've had just the earthquake. It just, to quote Bianca Del Rio, it bears repeating that gatekeeping, unnecessary gatekeeping, it's migraine inducing,
Yeah.
because you can't attack. We're at the point where there was limited access. Nobody knew where to go, what restaurants, where do I eat, what do I eat, does anybody have any recipes, you know, so you're scouring. Now you have it way at your fingertips, and as we find more restaurants or find more cafes and things like that, they're getting highlighted because it's still not as major as you would think, when it comes to vegan publications, unless you're in the UK. They're like everywhere in the UK. The only one that a lot of people would say that they know here is, of course, Veg News. But it's like, let's dial it back and realize that when it's one more than there was before, or three more than it was before. So it's something to check out. Scope out. Hey, if you find any places or you would like to know, give us a reason. Hey, what do you know? Instead of coming unnecessarily at people's throats, you just want to sit behind a keyboard and complain. Just you're not helping the movement. Again, it's those type of people who, they're trolls. And because of that, they still scare away people. It's like, it's like you get to a point where you're like, okay, we are doing this for this purpose, and we're enlightening and we're bringing more people. Then you want to come and you want to go ahead and unnecessarily get mad about something that's not necessary. It stifles, and hinders progress. So, I mean, that's
I hear
priorities.
you. I've observed a lot of that, as you know. Sheila, by the way, in the comments has been helping us a lot with our trolls on Vegan Street. We get a lot of just deranged people who are so threatened by just vegans living. But I was going to say, one of the things that I noticed long ago on our local vegan pages is like somebody can't mention a great place for vegan pizza without people jumping on and saying, no, that's trash. This other place is so much better. Or just like, why can't there just be an abundance of riches? Like, why can't we just be grateful? And so, like, why do we have to tear down? That's what I don't get of the vegan stuff, it seems like such a misapplication of attention,
Yeah, you do still have some folks where you'll never be vegan enough. Really, there's always something more, and instead of being excited that we are making some progress, because we know that beyond for me, beyond our health, it's good for our environment. There's so many things that we found just by eating more plants that it's good for. So it goes beyond just ourselves. So even, being more welcoming in general as the vegan community would be nice. So, instead of people who kind of tear folks down who do want to eat the KFC Beyond or, whatever those things are.
Right.
And Shayla, you on a daily basis preach what you do. You're walking the walk, you're talking the talk, and you have live shows that you do, and you have a class that people can take to help people eat more whole food, plant-based, not the Beyond and the Impossible. But at the same time, you're sitting here saying, I understand that people eat the Beyond and the Possible and the fried Oreos with the ice cream, the whole thing, and the comment about so delicious ice cream that was in the comments. And, you're not going to jump off your computer screen and shake them. You're just going to keep doing what you do so that people can see, here's the results, right? Here's the results of
Exactly. Yeah, we have to meet people, we have to meet people where they're at, first of all. And if we, automatically kind of, jump on to people and go to the most negative and say, oh, that's just not good enough. It's not good enough that you're, eating that Beyond Burger or that Follow Your Heart melty cheese. We have to meet people where they're at. Right, yeah. And then go from there, because once you get them there, then you can say, oh, well, maybe let's try, to make our own black bean burger instead of thinking that the Beyond is the only burger you can eat kind of thing. Yeah, exactly that, Susan.
I think our great comments. Go ahead. Yay, Kelly.
I was just gonna say, like, I mean, I think like just having this conversation is what's needed, because for me, the term cruelty free, like, I really don't know how much stuff can actually be called that. Like you said, even if it's not the stuff that's in a product, it's like, how are the workers treated? Are they using animals to pick this stuff? And we don't know what food we're eating. Could have farmers with people out there with guns shooting away the deer. So our food's not eaten. So like, I hesitate to, like, with that term cruelty free, like, it's just about talking and like just bringing that up and saying that. And that's how we get change, right? By saying we're eating this food and it's plant-based, it's vegan, but then there's this practice involved in getting this food that needs to change as well. So for me, like, I think, I don't know if anything really is cruelty free.
Right.
Nothing really is. and you just hit it again. You really, really touched upon it, because cruelty free, we always immediately want to think of our animals being affected. With produce and things, you have to look at the labor of immigrants that are working the fields. Are children involved? Are they being paid anything? Are they being underutilized? Are they being misused? Are they disenfranchised? You have to look at the marginalized groups, which is where intersectionality has to come in. I'm going to agree with Susan right here. She clearly said vegans need to be compassionate with other vegans. And I'm really sick and tired of these vegans that hate intersectional vegans. I'm like, you cannot just, and think that the animals are the only ones that are affected. There are people, again, we're all sentient, so we all matter. And I don't know, this is not a competition or who's greater than, there's no award for best vegan on earth. It's you have to look at the entire scope of everything, because it's almost okay. It's like ignorance. That's what it is. You're being blind. Ignorance is blind, and that's what you're doing if you cannot put two and two together and realize it goes beyond the animals. Yes, that's where, when you're approaching or you are becoming vegan, that's the first place where your mind goes, because that is what the scope is, because that's what you're seeing in restaurants. That's what you're seeing on video. You're seeing factory farming. But don't forget that there are other things and other aspects that are affected, and people, the ableism, the disabled, people of color. You have to look at those who can be vegan, or those who are disenfranchised. I mean, there's so much, economy wise and things like that. So you're right. There is nothing that's really cruelty free. The best that you can do is to do your part and just research as much as you can. And I always, always, always try to go as ethical as possible when it comes to who is being supported, especially when it comes to people that are from other countries, marginalized groups. What are you doing? If they are the ones that are providing this, how are they getting paid? What is it going towards? Things like that. As much as you possibly can.
Yeah, thanks so much for that people reminder, Sovereign, too. Because the other thing, I've also read reports where migrant workers are harmed from the chemicals that are used on a lot of farms. They use these fertilizers and pesticides. And we often forget that aspect. Like Kelly said, that's not, cruelty free, because it's causing harm to those folks' health who have to be out there. The migrant workers, lots of time, who are out there growing these products for us. So that's also another reason to support local, support your local farmers who don't tend to use those type of things, and don't tend to have these workers who are being harmed.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it can become an exercise in futility sometimes, when it kind of reminds me a little bit of when people say, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. And I understand that capitalism is pretty much a nightmare. But at the same time, that becomes a slippery slope to nihilism, to saying, it's all crap. Everything is exploitative. Everything is cruel. So why even bother mentally, even if you're not saying that out loud? So I think the point is that we do the best we can with the information that we have, and it's not always easy. Like, it's just, but I do think, like, the themes of tonight, like, just because something's vegan doesn't mean it is harmless, and just for many reasons. I just think, it's a slippery slope into nihilism, and thinking that nothing matters and nothing, makes a difference. But I think we're such an all or nothing society, and we see that a lot in our comment threads on Vegan Street. Is just like, if you can't be the perfect entity that has never existed, and float above harmlessly, then you have no right to call yourself vegan, and that's not our point. Our point is harm reduction wherever we can. And there is a lot you can do. So that's our whole point,
Right, it's your baby steps.
Yeah.
Right? We're not
Right.
asking
Right.
people
Yeah.
to come into this world to be at level 1 million. We're asking them to come into this world because we want to save the planet and the animals and your health. And whatever that is for you, because some people can't afford to go into those ethics, into the intersectionality and think about the workers. It's not that they don't care. It's just that they need to buy their bananas. And they need to buy them for the least expensive price.
Right.
They just need to find them somewhere to buy in their community. And we just start there. Because to go at people who live in a food desert and then start saying, well, you need to go more ethical with this and that, they're going to be like, can you bring something here besides Burger King and McDonald's? And Church's Fried Chicken. Because I'll go, because it tends to be people of color in those communities that live in food deserts or have
cultural racism.
So Jill, I'd love you to talk about that because it is Black History Month and Sovereign too.
Yeah. I will say that's definitely, a concern with food deserts, and definitely one of the contributors to health disparities and why people of color tend to suffer from chronic preventable diseases at higher rates than white Americans do. Tends to be because, of where we live and where things are placed. In terms of, lack of access to quality food, lack of safe places, even to get exercise. That's been another contributor, having nice, luscious parks and trails and things. You don't tend to find those. Right, trees, yeah. And you don't tend to find those a lot of times in predominant communities of color. Because the systems that be don't find it a priority to put those things there. And so those things, do contribute to that. One of the things that I have found, and I don't know, how common of knowledge this is that for those folks who may get government assistance, that can be used at your local farmers market. And so, I don't know how readily available that knowledge is. So hopefully that can help someone to know that they can use that at their local farmers market. And a lot of times you can get things cheaper at the local farmers market. If you have a way to get there. Here in Chattanooga, excuse me. One of the nice things about our local market is that it's actually on the bus line, and you can even ride the bus to get to it. And so that helps from an accessibility standpoint too.
Most definitely. And I think also going later in the day is often good at a farmer's market to save money, because a lot of times the farmers are just trying to get rid of stuff. So
Right.
Well, I think that there's oh, I'm sorry. One of the things that there's a lack of, especially when we want to talk about, communities of color, sometimes we can be our worst enemy. There was, I believe it was in Michigan, where a Whole Foods, or a smaller version of a Whole Foods, was planned to be introduced into the community, and they got mad because, Dr. Whether you understand, gentrification is a very big thing. And they immediately took it, instead of being a positive thing, they took it as you're coming in to change and things like that. And I do understand that, trust me, I do get it. But we also can't say we don't have access, and then when it does come in, then we kind of sink our own ship. If you don't want big conglomerates coming in, then it's great to kind of see it happening more. There's more urban farmers that are, creating and making it available and doing our own little urban farmers markets, which is fantastic. And I think that you are having a lot of faces right now, I will say, which is great, is that there are so many more African American, BIPOC, vegan influencers, chefs, TikTokers, that it's like, oh, okay, great, I can do this. This is perfect. And so more and more and more people are embracing it. And you're welcome, my children, everyone. So I mean, it's
right?
yeah, it's getting to where representation matters
Mhm.
in every single form. When I became vegan, all I saw were white faces.
Mhm.
I didn't see anyone who was like me. And then you want to take it another step. I didn't see anybody who was like me aesthetically.
Mhm.
So it was like I click because we're the same, skin tone, and I'm proud to be an African. But aesthetically, I'm like, this is not. I don't click and connect there. So then you want to create something, especially if everything is the cookie cutter, something that is new or someone that they can relate to. So it's good to have where we don't necessarily, there's so much more availability. And I'm going to leave it at that because Cuphead is in the background. I'm so sorry. My son.
Yeah. And while we're on this page, if you will, I want to give a shout out to PCRM, the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. They actually have a whole site on cultural recipes, plant-based cultural recipes. So for those folks who are looking for like more traditional African or even African American, Latino based cultural meals, you can find some really good healthy plant-based recipes there on their site.
That's awesome. And also, if you want to learn more about the chocolate industry and farmers' rights, I would say, or farm workers' rights, rather, I would definitely recommend checking out the Food Empowerment Project that does a lot of educating and fundraising for that.
Yep. That's awesome. I think this is a great show. We all agree? Let me see. Let me take a look and see what I think our show will be next week. And if you guys don't want it to be that, then we won't be. What do we have to? We're up to 50. Wow. Next week will be week 55. Huh. Right now it's supposed to be false promises and real benefits of veganism. Well, I can see us having fun with that. I know. It's like, okay, everyone get their thinking caps on. So we have a week to figure it out, or the day of, like I do. So thank you, Stu Crew. You're amazing. Let's close this out. And let's see.
Thanks to everyone who's been here.
Thanks, Marla. Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Dr. Shayla. And thank you. Thank you for being part of our show. All the comments, questions, and we love it. We love when you're part of the show. So thank you for joining us. And like I said, next week we'll be back at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Thanks, Sheila. And especially for you and Susan having your conversation in the comments too. And of course, Ray and Susan. And I think that's everyone else who commented tonight. So, like I said, go to virtualveteraslive.com, enter our contest, win 11. There's 11 prize packs this month. So go enter for a chance to win. We've got lots of posts on our social media for you to check it out. Thank you to Dojo Fresh for being our sponsor of our lives this month of February. And of course, on Friday at 11:30, you can have face yoga with Tiffany, which is pretty cool. Check that out. You can sit, you can do it at work, do it anywhere. So, like I said at the beginning, send some healing, positive energy to Stephen for his surgery tomorrow. We would greatly appreciate that. We'll take anything we can get and whatever and how you do it. So, be well, be kind, and always have fun. And subscribe to our Virtual Veg Fest and our Vegan Stew YouTubes. We greatly appreciate that too. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.